Come almost ready to call our next witness.
Yes, you're going to come on, call Chad Allgaier.
Thank you. The whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
Could you tell the jury your name, please?
Chadwick Allgaier.
Currently, where do you work?
I'm a probation officer with the Division of Probation and Parole.
Back in 2016, where did you work?
I worked for the Louisville Metro Police Department as a crime scene technician.
How long were you a crime scene technician?
Oh my God,
6
I
years.
just realized my microphone was off.
When did you leave?
I left in August of 2016.
So back in May, did you do some work on the case that we're here to talk about?
Yes, I did.
Are they popping champagne?
Sorry about that, sir.
Oops.
Now, the first thing that you did, what was your initial involvement in the case?
I believe initially I may have assisted on a search warrant at a house. And then the other involvement after that was processing a vehicle.
Okay, so the search warrant on the house, was that on Haight Avenue?
I believe so,
And
yes.
did you collect 2 knives?
Without reference to my report, I couldn't recall.
Okay, if I showed you the report, would you remember?
Yes.
Sorry. I'm going to put that number so I can find this more quickly. This is the 52.
Okay, with the shuffle papers, lady. Come on now.
No.
You could just look that over.
Sure.
So if you recall now, did you collect 2 knives on River Park?
On Haight Avenue, yes.
On Haight Avenue, sorry. Then, on May 25th, did you do something else on this case?
Yes, I was called to go to the auto theft garage and process a vehicle.
Okay, what does process a vehicle mean?
Initially, we take photographs of the vehicle to start with, and then we do a kind of a visual search of the vehicle to see if there's anything that's in plain view that we're going to collect. And then after that, it's forensically done, whether it's what the detective wants collected.
And in this case, did you take photographs of the vehicle?
I did, yes.
Turn me out first, witness.
Okay.
I'm showing you what we have marked as 137, 148. Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, these would have been the photos that I took of the vehicle.
Are these 137 and 148?
Any objection?
No objection.
So admitted.
Okay, I'm going to go through it. Is it up on your screen right
Yes,
now?
it is.
Okay, I'm going to go through these photos. So what are we looking at here on this one?
This appears to be a Mazda four-door sedan vehicle.
And is this the car you processed that day?
It is, yes.
Which I believe was May 25th, 2016, correct?
Yes,
Is that the rear of the car?
that is the rear of the vehicle, yes. That would be an interior view from the driver's side door, front driver's side.
Front or seats there?
Yes. Then that would be looking into the vehicle, the rear passenger seat from the driver's side. That's the interior of the trunk. That is the interior of the rear seat area from the passenger side on the back. And I believe I took this one on the rear passenger side door, looking into the rear seat and the trunk area.
So where those seat belts are, would that be the rear seats?
Yes, that's where they would be, yes.
And where that well is that the trunk?
Yes. I believe that's a photo of the registration that was found in the vehicle.
And you might not be able to see it on the screen, but if you could look at the photograph, who's the name on the registration?
It says the owner's name is a Lashana Rhodes.
And what's this?
So this is a picture. I'm not sure what area it is because it's so dark, but this would be a photograph of the chemiluminescence from the Blue Star forensics that was applied to the vehicle.
How does that work? Tell the jury, please.
So basically, Blue Star forensics is a chemical product that will react with certain components that are contained in blood.
So how do you get it onto the car?
So it comes in a tablet form. We take those tablets, put them in with water in a spray bottle, kind of stir it around, let them dissolve. And once it's dissolved, the area needs to be dark for the chemiluminescence to be visible. But once it's applied, we apply it via a spray bottle and just spray it on the areas that we want to, that we're interested in. And then we take pictures on a time lapse to see if there's any reaction.
Where do we see it, if at all, on this video?
Let me pull up, because it's hard to see on the video. I believe, looking at this, it may be the trunk area.
But I just meant, I know this is kind of a dumb question, but just to go through it all procedurally, where on this picture is the Blue Star showing up?
It's all the blue areas that are marked is what the reaction was from the Blue Star.
It's kind of obvious, but we got to go through the questions. Thank you very much. And then what do we have here?
This is, again, looks like the trunk area from the rear. And again, all the blue areas would have been reactions from the Blue Star. This, again, I believe this is from the interior, the rear passenger side. And again, the blue areas that are luminescent would be the reaction from the Blue Star.
And where are you doing this analysis?
This is in our auto theft garage, which is a secured facility.
Is it an interior where you're able to turn off all the lights?
It is, yes. Again, just another picture. And again, all the blue areas there would be reactions from the Blue Star.
After you did the Blue Star and took the photographs, what did you do?
I believe we processed the car. And by processing, I believe I was asked to do latent fingerprints on the vehicle. And I don't believe, if I recall from the report, that we got any fingerprints that were viable off of it. And then from there, I believe we did a lot of swabbing. Swabbing would be for the purposes of trying to obtain DNA to place people in the vehicle. I believe we did trace lifts off the seats and possibly some of the trunk or floorboard areas. Without the actual report, I can't say specifically what we did. But I know that we did swabs, fingerprints, and trace lifts.
And if you had your actual report to look at, would it help refresh your
It
memory?
would, yes. Okay, so yeah, so again, I processed the vehicle for latent fingerprints. We got negative results, which means there wasn't anything viable that could be used to search against. And then I collected swabs of the interior front driver's side door handle, the steering wheel, the gear shift knob, the front driver's seat recline lever, the rear driver's side interior door handle, the rear passenger side interior door handle, the front passenger side interior door handle, and then swabs from the front passenger seat recline lever. And then as far as the trace lifts we did, took those from the front driver's seat headrest, the front driver's seat back, which is what you would lean your back against, the front driver's seat area, the front passenger seat headrest, the front passenger seat back, and then the front passenger seat itself.
What are trace lifts?
So trace lifts is basically, if you just think about like a large piece of clear tape, if you will. And basically what we do is it comes on a sealed protector. We peel that off and back, and then we apply the lift on whatever object it is we want to get that trace lift from. And then we smooth it out to get good adherence on it, and then we lift that up, put it back over the protective covering, and what that does is it will gather and protect any kind of fibers, hairs, anything like that that would be on contact with another object.
And what is the goal on a trace lift?
So on trace lift, you're looking for fibers, hairs, anything that can be used to identify an object or a person.
Would your plan be for it to be sent to a lab?
Yes.
And then for the swabs, what are swabs?
So swabs we use to collect those, what we call touch DNA. So anytime a person touches an object, you're going to leave behind a trace of something, whether it's sweat, epithelial cells, which is basically your skin, potential for blood. So the goal of the swab is to swab an object, send that off to the lab to hopefully obtain DNA that can be matched with someone to identify or place a person that touched an object or in a place.
And for the prints, if there are fingerprints, if there are no fingerprints found in a car, does that mean that no one's ever touched the car?
No, it does not.
What could happen to disturb fingerprints?
Hi,
So
Jamie.
fingerprints are very sensitive.
Welcome back.
You know, obviously objects are touched. Anytime you touch an object, you're going to leave a fingerprint behind. But with common objects like a vehicle, door handles, gear shift knobs, steering wheels, all those fingerprints are just constantly, they're rubbed off, they're placed over one another. It's very hard to get a viable fingerprint off of a commonly touched object.
I'm gonna get my.
Sure.
And I have no further questions. Morning, Detective, or Mr. Allgaier, how are you?
Morning, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Former Detective Middleton testified in this case, and I know you weren't here, but I believe he told the jury that during the search of Hyde Avenue, he located 2 knives and a hammer, but you didn't collect the hammer, correct?
According to my report, I only collected the 2 knives that I recall.
And there were 2 searches of Hyde Avenue. Were you present for both of those?
No, I was not.
The first one,
Yes.
to your knowledge? Did you take any video during that search?
I don't believe so, but again, without the report, I couldn't say yes or no 100%.
You also said you assisted in the processing of the blue Mazda, correct?
Yes.
On the report, were you with Officer Kim during the processing of that vehicle?
Without referencing the report, I don't recall off the top of my head who all was present there for that.
Well, in the report, it says that the vehicle was a gray Nissan Altima 4-door. Did that? Yeah.
Oh, pause. Jamie, hello. I'm barely out of my robe, honestly. That's why I use hot rollers, because they take like 5 minutes. I was going to say, yesterday I had mentioned, I don't like to start these until they're on like a delay, but I was just working on like a summary of yesterday, And then I was like sitting here thinking, well, it's going to be starting soon. Maybe I'll just do it now. You know, this is exactly what happened with that Charlie Adelson trial I watched. I didn't live stream it, but I watched it. And I was like a junkie. I needed my fix every morning when I woke up. I have problems. And then I was thinking, well, on this Crime Spies, Road to 500, maybe, I mean, there were so many people watching this through Law and Crime. And I know some of the channels that I grew to love that did live streams, you know, that's how I found them. And, while it was live. So I thought, well, phooey, I'm going to be sitting here working on this anyway, so why not?
Knowledge, no.
I do have two brand new followers on
In the
Rumble.
pictures, the vehicle did not appear to have a
Rolls
backseat.
52 and
Correct,
Nikki
correct.
L. Thank you so
At
much.
any time, did it have a backseat when you worked on the vehicle?
No, it did not.
Did anyone ever, from Louisville Metro Police Department, ever bring you a backseat of that vehicle to test at any point later?
Not to me directly, no.
I think you testified that you did a lot of swabbing.
Yes.
And you testified that you swabbed the car seats, I believe, but you didn't swab the floor where the back seat had supposedly been removed or in the trunk, correct?
Again, without referencing my report, I couldn't tell you.
If I showed you the report, would that help?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your
You
Honor?
may.
Thank you. And what was your question again? I'm
My
sorry.
question was whether you had swabbed the floorboard where the back seat would have been, or in the trunk.
Okay. We did take some swabs from the rear passenger side floorboard. Yes.
What about underneath where the seat would have been?
According to the report, we did not.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's all the questions I have for you.
Boy, they sure
Very good.
shift through these.
All right, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
They sure shift through these
Almost next witness, please.
witnesses quickly.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Brice Rhodes,
Thank you.
detective.
Brian Rice, detective. For a second, I thought they said, I don't know. I haven't had enough coffee. I'm tinkering. Still haven't 100% figured out this whole OBS thing, but I do like it. So Jamie, for those of you who are watching on Rumble side, I want to thank two brand new followers there. Rawls 52
Good morning.
started following 8 hours ago, and Nikki L yesterday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You may have a seat.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Brice Rhodes.
Brian
And,
Royce.
How are you employed?
Currently, I'm with Louisville Metro Police Department.
Is
And
that
what is
Brian
your
with an
position?
I or a Y, sir?
I'm currently a civilian investigator in the cold case homicide.
Good morning, this way up.
And how were you employed back in
Hello.
2016?
I was also employed by Louisville Metro Police Department. I was in a detective capacity in the homicide unit.
And in connection with this case,
Oh,
did you
quick recap.
perform
Yes.
a
Here, let's just put these people on
Processing.
pause one moment. I have a quick recap for you, actually. Let's see if I can find it. Where did I put it? Trial summaries. Or did I put it under highlights? Highlights, I think. Please hold one moment. Must open it. Okay, this is it's 11 pages, but they're not all full. Hold on, I gotta show you how to Just one moment. Since we're live, I don't feel so horrible. Okay. Granted, I started working on this morning. So, quick recap of days 1 and 2. Again, the victims. Is this the one Yes. Okay, so the victims. On May 4th, 2016, Christopher Jones, he was 40 years old. He was shot while standing in the road. So you have to put location and I have to get his picture. So they were just like, cruising around in their Mazda and pulled up to some area. And Brice said to this guy here, "Hey, bitch, get out of the road," and shot him, according to the witness yesterday. Then, and actually on day 1, after opening statements by both the defense and prosecution, there was only 2 people. There was the responding officer and then the detective. So it's my understanding that that guy was just like a random person in the street that Brice thought he would take the liberty of ending his life. The next 2 victims that Brice is on trial for are these 2 brothers. And again, this is just something I started this morning, and it's not very good yet. So a few weeks later, they were all in the car again with what's the guy's name from yesterday? Well, it's down farther. And they had some kind of disagreement because these 2 brothers, who were age 14 and 16 at the time, they witnessed the shooting of the first victim. And so they brought him back to, it's my understanding, Brice's mother's condo that she was renting, and put the one brother in the bathroom, brought the other brother out into the living room, stuck a gag in his mouth, and put something over his head, a hat or something. And they had like hey, do you vote whether he should live or die? And so they started stabbing, or Brice stabbed him, and then he made the other brothers, or the other witnesses, co-conspirators, stab him, and then slid him over to the door, and then went and got the other brother who was in the bathroom, stuck a gag, and then he was blindfolded. So the witness yesterday said, he didn't know that his brother was dead at the time, and then stabbed him. Again, I just started working on this morning. This took like 15 minutes, so bear with me. So that was like 3 weeks later. And then defendant, I haven't gotten to him yet, but he was 25 at the time of the crimes in May of 2016, 2 different dates. And now he's 32. Co-conspirators, this I have to work on, but there's co-conspirators. They've all taken plea deals. One of them yesterday testified, but in order to get the plea deals, they had to agree to testify. So far we've heard from one of them. Prosecution's opening statement. Series involving the defendant and his accomplices. The first act involved the murder of Christopher Jones, Larry Ordway, and I haven't vetted this yet. Maurice okay, so we've already gone that. Maurice and Larry, despite having this is like the prosecution opening statement summary. Despite having different last names, were brothers. Prosecution emphasizes their close relationship, shared interest in the fact that they were targeted for a murder that was initially considered a hit. Oh, that's right. It was a hit. According to the prosecution, Brice Rhodes, the defendant, orchestrated the first murder as part of a plan to collect on a hit. Jacory Taylor, known as Corey, was a friend of Maurice and Larry, the 2 brother victims, and was involved in the plan. The victim, Christopher Jones, was mistaken for the target, shot, and fatally wounded. So he's the one that Brice is like, "Hey, bitch, get out of the road," shot him, and ended up being not the person they were looking for. The second act occurred shortly afterward. So Christopher Jones, May 4th. The two brothers, May 21st. And again, I haven't worked on this very much. It'll be better as the day progresses. With Brice Rhodes becoming aware that the victim's family was talking about the murder. So the two brothers, it was testified yesterday that the two brothers told their mother about the shooting of Christopher Jones. In an effort to cover up the first murder, Rhodes allegedly decided to eliminate the two brothers. The prosecutor describes a gruesome scene where Maurice and Larry were tortured while Maurice being stabbed multiple times by Rhodes. Larry, in a separate room, could hear his brother's pleas for mercy before experiencing a similar fate. After the murders, the prosecution claims that Rhodes and his accomplices disposed of the bodies, burning evidence, and cleaning up the crime scene. The victims' bodies were found mutilated and burned near River Park Drive. The prosecution presents evidence including DNA and analysis from carpet fibers and boots, as well as dismantling the Rhodes car interior to connect the defendant to the crimes. The car was a Mazda. Witnesses included Ja'Cory and Antoine Carter. They're expected to testify. So one of them, okay, again, this is a summary of the prosecution's opening thing. Strategy indicates the prosecution aims to portray Brice as the mastermind behind a premeditated and brutal series of murders, highlighting the cruelty and calculation involved in the acts. They also plan to present a strong case with multiple forms of evidence, eyewitness testimony, yada yada. Okay. Then the defense opening, again, this I have not had a chance to work on yet. Strategy for Brice centers on casting doubt on the prosecution's case by highlighting the unreliability of the main witness, spelling is wrong, Antoine Carter. Defense argues that the incriminating statements about stabbing and running over victims were made by Carter, the guy that testified yesterday, and not Brice. The defense aims to emphasize that Carter is a known criminal with a motive to lie, as he received a lenient deal in exchange for testifying against Brice. The defense questions the evidence presented by the prosecution, particularly focusing on the lack of eyewitnesses who are not involved in the crimes and the absence of a murder weapon linked to Brice. They argue that Carter yesterday said the one other guy is the one that bought the gun. They argue that the physical evidence such as tire tracks and footprints does not connect Brice to the crimes. The defense also raises concerns about the conduct of the Louisville Metro Police Department, suggesting mistakes and mishandling the evidence, including the mysterious disappearance of an entire back seat from Brice's car. The defense challenges the credibility of the mother of the victims, pointing out her potential bias against Brice and questionable reliability due to her history of drug use. The prosecution yesterday suggested that Brice and her were involved romantically. Okay. The defense argues the police had tunnel vision in their investigations, focusing solely on Brice without exploring other possible suspects. Additionally, the defense questions the reliability of Antoine Carter and Ja'Cory Taylor, asserting that they are known criminals with conflicting statements. Two witnesses had time to coordinate their stories and implicate Brice in the crimes to secure more favorable deals for themselves. So, reasonable doubt highlighting inconsistencies, witness testimonies, raising questions about the police investigation, and challenging the credibility of key witnesses. So that's kind of a background of where they're coming from. Then the grandmother testified. This is a summary of that. Again, I haven't quite gone through it. And then Rebecca Kimmer, she was the technician yesterday in the afternoon. She testified, and then there's a list of evidence here. The burnt blanket. She's the one that went through the dumpster. So I have this saved as a PDF, and once I go through it and fix the spelling errors and kind of like, fix what have it the way I want it with my pictures and all that, I'll post it. I'll post the PDF on my X account. So then here's just like a big giant list of all the stuff that they got. And then at the end, this was the guy at the very end of the day yesterday. So he's the one that got the sweetheart deal and testified at the very end of yesterday. Testifies he is 22 years old, resides in Florida. He knew the individuals involved in the events, including Jacory, Maurice, Larry, and Rambo. Rambo is the defendant's rapper nickname. He describes an incident where the group, including him, planned a shooting because someone had a price on the head. Okay, we've basically gone through all of this. Let me vet it again. So he just kind of goes through, you know, what I've said before. They were in the car. They were going out to do a hit so they could collect some money and shot the wrong guy. The two other brothers and him were in the car at the time. And then the subsequent weeks later, demise of the two brothers and his participation in that. Have you on the background while recording videos to help a bit with the view hours? Oh, thank you very much. I actually log into my other account, Queen, and I leave it over in the corner. I've done that too. Thank you very much, Broken Baker. Okay, back to the video. So that's what I'm working on. And actually, since that took a little while, now we can put it up to 1.25 times speed. Hopefully that made sense. I think I need more coffee.
Of a vehicle associated with this case?
I did.
Okay. And the jury's just heard a little bit about processing. So what vehicle was it you were looking into?
This was a 2016 Dodge Charger.
Okay, the Charger was driven by... The Charger was driven by...
Yes.
I just showed him.
There was a witness yesterday, not the very last witness, but the other one that was in the orange jumpsuit. He was the one that had the Charger.
So where did you encounter the vehicle?
This was already at the auto theft garage.
Okay. And that's what happens?
I'm
at the
glad
auto
that
theft
made
garage? Why was the
sense.
vehicle there?
That would be
It'll be a
stored
lot
there
better
until
when
we
I've had more
process
time to
for,
like work on it.
And who made the determination that you should process this vehicle?
That would be at the direction of the lead detective.
And so how did you process this vehicle?
Oh, and
Detective Snyder
actually,
obtained
I
a
can...
consent search for the vehicle that allowed us to actually search the vehicle and document its contents and record anything that we thought may be of evidentiary value.
And did you find anything in the vehicle of evidentiary value?
The CSU technician, Megan Brown, was present with me. She documented the vehicle with photographs. We did some print lifts and some trace lifts. And I believe there were a couple articles of clothing recovered from the trunk of the vehicle.
And did any of those examinations return anything interesting?
I do not know.
Okay. What do you do with? Were you there when the lifts were taken?
I was.
Okay. And then from the time that they're taken, where do they go from there?
The crime scene unit technicians handle that evidence.
And did you take the photograph?
Did I take photographs?
Of the Charger?
The CSU technician did.
And were you there when trace lifts were taken?
I was.
And where did the trace lifts go from there?
Again, that type of evidence goes with CSU to the lab.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any questions for this witness?
You just testified to the processing with the 2016.
Boy, they
Dodge Charger.
rifle through these witnesses fast.
You were also involved in another piece of this case, correct?
You'll have to refresh my memory.
You were involved in a search of Height Street Avenue
I recall being present for one of the executions of one of the warrants.
at Height Street,
That's correct.
and you were present there
when there was Blue Star applied,
I was.
and you were present when there was a scene video taken of that Blue Star processing attempt?
I can't say that I was still present at that time.
And did you obtain a scene video of that Blue Star processing attempt?
Did I?
Did you yourself?
No.
And you've never seen or viewed such a video?
I have not.
No more questions.
Any redirect? None. All right, you're free to go, Detective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Done with him.
Ms. Jones-Brown, your next witness.
I come up with Brian Peters.
Thank you.
Another Brian. Brian Peters, I think. Oh, if you guys could put your, or guys and gals, could put your
Have you raised your right hand,
social
please? You
media
swear to tell the truth and the whole
handles,
truth?
because once
Thank
I'm
you.
done
You
with
may have a
that,
seat.
the daily summary things, I usually pin it to the top of
Please
my.
introduce yourself to the jury.
I'm Detective
Profile?
Brian Peters with Louisville Metro Police.
How long have you been
Did you
with
say
LMPD?
Brian Peters?
I served just over 20 years, retired a little over a year and a half ago, and then I've been back with LMPD as a rehire as a detective again.
The jury.
I'm Detective Brian Peters with Louisville Metro Police.
Another
How long
Brian.
have you been with LMPD?
I served just over 20 years, retired a little over a year and a half ago, and then I've been back
I
with
wonder if
LMPD
this
as a
one is
rehire,
BRIAN or
just
YAN.
about a year and a half now, or close to a year and a half.
And where are you currently stationed?
Currently, I'm serving our Public Integrity Unit.
Back in 2016, where were you?
Did you
I
talk
was assigned in
fast?
our the Metro's Homicide Unit. At the time, I was specifically assigned to the co-case unit.
And how long were you with homicide in total?
Approximately 13 years total.
What was your involvement in the case of Brice Rhodes?
My involvement, I did not make the initial scene where the victims were located. My involvement was following up on an investigative lead that led us to a location over on Hackle Drive regarding a dumpster fire where ultimately we retrieved items.
So before you went to Hackle, where were you? Where were you when you got notified that you were going to be involved in this case?
Okay. Kind of the way a lot of homicides work. There's a lot of moving parts. Myself, my partner at the time, again, we were assigned a co-case unit. We were actually asked to assist in this
Oh, these
investigation by
people
responding
talk
to a search warrant
fast.
was being executed, I believe, at the defendant's home. On our arrival, we were.
I'm going to
asked
put him
search a
back on
specific vehicle
normal
that was
because
later
then
located
we're going to
in
have
the
to have a
same
break
vehicle.
anyway.
What vehicle was that?
It was like a light blue Mazda four-door car.
And after you located the vehicle, what did you do?
We located the vehicle. The back windows were down, I believe. There was a strong smell of bleach, chemical-like substance emanating from the car. The back seat, as we approached closer, it was missing from the vehicle. At that point, myself and my partner, we began searching the apartment complex for dumpsters, obviously looking for the seat that was in the vehicle. We even searched nearby neighborhoods, areas where there might be dumpsters or anything it had been discarded in that manner.
Did you find anything?
We didn't. At that point, since we had not located it, obviously we believed it to be of significant value. I made a request in through our Metro Safe dispatch for any dumpster fires that may have been within about, I believe, like the last 48 hours or so. I kind of went from the time frame of when we believe so it was 2 days later, I believe, that we were at that apartment complex from when the initial homicides occurred. So we kind of did a wide time range as far as trying to locate any dumpster fires.
How would Metro Safe know about dumpster fires?
Typically, they're called in. If somebody calls in, as it was just like a car accident or whatever, they would call in, and then the fire, whoever would respond.
Do you mean call 911?
Yes.
Okay. So how many 911 calls have been made about dumpster fires?
There were several. I want to say it might have been somewhere around 7 or 8.
And did you follow up on each of them?
We did, yes.
What did you, was Hackle Drive the last one you went to?
It happened to be, yes.
Okay, so on the
last one.
previous dumpsters, what did you find at each of them?
Nothing of significant value. I believe one of them was actually a repeated phone call, a duplicate call. I think even one of them may have had just like very small,
There it
minimal
goes.
damage. I think we spoke to an employee at like one of the Dollar Generals. He said it was kids just trying to attempt to light it on fire. But we never found anything of significance until we got to Hackle Drive.
Had some of them already been emptied?
They had, yes.
So you get to Hackle, and was it your understanding that somebody had called in a dumpster fire?
That's correct, yes.
What did you find when you got there?
When we first got there, there was it was the last one that we checked. We kind of began like about midday checking these. It was already dark by the time we arrived. There was an older gentleman outside in the rear of one of the buildings in the 6500 block. I asked him if he was the one who initially made the 911 call on the dumpster fire. He said no. He did direct me to a building where he believed, I guess the caller lived at. The dumpster itself had significant damage to it. I mean, it was the most significant damaged one we came across in our search.
Okay. And you have been using the pronoun we. Who were you with?
My partner at the time, Detective Matt Metzler, who also worked in homicide with me.
So what did you all do with this dumpster?
We approached it. Obviously, it was a substantial fire, it appeared to be, because a lot of the paint was melted off. There was a significant amount of water in there. That dumpster appeared to be about halfway full, if I recall. We obviously, again, it was dark. There appeared to be what just kind of really almost at the top of the water level, what we believed to be at that time remnants of like a seat cushion in the dumpster. So at that point, we secured that scene like we would any crime scene. We've roped it off with crime scene tape and obviously made a request for our crime scene unit to come out to assist.
What was this still on May 24th?
This would have been, I believe it was May 24th. And again, I want to say it might have been about 2 days after the homicides.
And how were you there? How long were you there?
Several hours.
Did it go into the 25th?
It did, yes.
So did crime scene technician Kimmer arrive?
That's correct.
Okay. And was she with? Were there two crime scene technicians?
I believe so. Again, when we initially got on that scene, there was a search warrant being executed, and I believe we were waiting for them to conclude, I guess, their collection of any items there before they came to our scene.
And you mean a different search warrant, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So when CSU got there, what happened?
We started. We actually were in Tyvek suits. And obviously it entered the dumpster and tried to, I guess, again, had a substantial amount of water in it. We started pulling the items out individually and trying to ascertain what would be possibly involved in our...
Some people see a dumpster fire.
I'm going to show some photos that have been previously introduced by technician Kimmer. Is that the dumpster?
It appears to be, yes.
Okay. So, is this what you were faced with when you first got there?
It was, yes.
How did you know what to collect?
So, obviously, our initial, I guess, approach to this, we were looking for the backseat of a vehicle. Once we actually get to this dumpster and kind of start going through items, we start discovering things that we believe are possibly involved. There were several items, I think you kind of skipped through a few as well. That,
I gotta use
that
the
appear
button.
to have, and I don't know how it...
I'll just start at the first one, and you tell me, let me know if you want to talk about something.
Okay. I know the picture's a little grainy on there compared to what I'm looking at on this screen. This one has, you have some burn marks through here. These little spots here, they appear to be blood. Like right there, here, kind of on the ends. These appear to be like the burn marks. And then again, you have a little bit more possible blood here and up there. Can't tell if that's kind of a little bit better to see here, but this appears to be blood here. These appear to be burn marks through here. Again, you have what appears to be saturated blood as well. And again, over here.
Oh, never mind.
Again, this would have been the towel from the previous picture, or what appears to be a towel. Again, you have what appears to be the suspected blood here on the edges over here, kind of throughout the towel, and then these are all just burn marks here. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Okay. Right here, this is going to be what appears, I think this is going to be like a sheet here, but this is really saturated with blood. I know the coloring looks bad here, but this is real dark red through here. These, again, appear to be some burn marks on here as well. And
I think that's just a close-up of the same picture.
And that's just going to be when we remove that item after, and we photograph everything as it is before we actually retrieve it. Obviously, we want to look at it a little bit closer and to follow up before we collect it. But again, this is going to be that item. I think you can see much better here that kind of the red coloration here, what appears to be blood. And then these are all going to be, I guess, little remnants of the burn marks here. So in this one, I think this is going to be here. I think this is like almost like a comforter here. Obviously significant burn where it had obviously sustained fire damage. That's going to be the item once it's removed from the dumpster, and you have significant burn marks here as well. This one, obviously the coloration of it, it's kind of hard to tell. It looks to appear to be blood through here, and again over here.
Is in the upper left corner, is that a shoe, just for perspective on the
Oh, I'm
size
sorry.
of
Are you
this?
talking right here?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. This appears to be like a sofa cushion. It was recovered and it was photographed, pulled out. It has significant burn damage as well throughout there. This is going to be another towel, like I guess like a washcloth. It appears to be actually like I don't know what, right here, I don't know if that's kind of part of where it's ripped off, but this is just another towel that we recovered that also has some burn damage to it. So this appears to be another cushion, a pillow right through here that we recovered. It appears to have like saturated blood here. It's like a good amount through this area. This is your burn marks on it over here.
Oops.
And again, this is going to be the cushion laid out once we recover it from the dumpster. You can see the significant burn there. This one looks to be a pillowcase right here. This is real, what we suspect to be blood as well, kind of up here. It does have a little bit of a burn mark through here, but this is going to be your suspected blood through there. And that's just, let's see, this is going to be, okay, we did pull these two items out, not knowing if they were some type of flame accelerant. They were not. Actually, we called for arson to come out. We learned when they came out, it was actually just 2 jugs of urine.
So
And is this, are we getting into like the bottom?
why would you pee in
We
a
are,
jug and
that's
then
correct.
throw it in the dumpster? That's not flammable.
Just a close-up of the same scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's really weird.
Okay, I believe this item here we pulled out as well, along with this one. This one appears to be more bedding. Again, you have what appears to be suspected blood all over this one, heavily here and up here. There are several burn marks on here, especially right in this area.
I'm going to make a note to remind me another thing about dumpsters. That one documentary, The
here,
Garden, they go dumpster diving
This
for
item here,
food.
do we have another picture? I think that might be part of that. But it has some, let's see.
I think that's it.
Okay. This one might have been the bottom part of our, I guess, another part of that bedding that was right there, but it had significant burn damage as well, and so did this, remnants of what appeared to be a carpet
Oh, and they
on
also
this
go
one as well.
looking for roadkill.
Okay, this is my partner, Detective Metzler. As we recover bedding out of there, out of the dumpster, this one has a lot of significant stains, all appear to be blood, as well as identifying markers on here that show that it was there when the fire was initiated. And that's going to be the item that Detective Metzler retrieved. This here appears to be significant spot of blood here, as well as identifying marks right through here and up here. I'm sorry.
It's just a close-up of the same one.
It appears to be, yes. And that's, I believe, still going to be the same item. And these are going to be, obviously we'll take photos of things in the dumpster, we recover it, place it out, we'll photograph things. A picture like this is going to be actually in our crime scene lab, where once we have an opportunity to kind of even detail it a little bit more. So this is going to be one of the items that we recovered.
When you realized that you had found the dumpster that probably had evidentiary significance, how did you notify anybody about this?
Okay. Again, we were looking for backseat of a vehicle initially. Obviously, when we get over to the dumpster, as we kind of approach, I observed what I thought were remnants, like stuffing from the inside of a seat cushion. It would appear to be maybe even like little springs. I notified our homicide commander, Lieutenant Kessinger, at that time.
And what did you tell him?
I told him, obviously, he was aware the back seat was missing from the vehicle. I told him that I believe that we may have remnants of one, that there had been a significant dumpster fire, and that we were going to try to attempt to retrieve any items that from that dumpster pertaining to the case.
How long did you have to wait for CSU?
Offhand, I don't know. It may have been an hour, it may have been two. We roped it off. Obviously, we secured it from that point. Nobody had any access to the dumpster at that point.
And when CSU came, how long did that whole process of taking each item, photographing, taking each item out, photographing again, how long did that take?
So it's very time consuming, especially in the pictures you were looking at with a dumpster like that. You don't want to just go through it too quick. You want to kind of process each item as best as you can. Obviously, the fire damage played a role in that as well. So it took several hours.
Do you recall when you cleared the scene?
It was the following day. It was sometime that morning. I mean, when we got there, it was dark. I would say late in the evening, maybe around 10:30. We may have been there 12 hours, maybe somewhere around there.
And did you later return to do follow-up interviews of residents?
We did. Mm-hmm. The ones that the gentleman had told us he believed to be the ones that called 911. We did.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Detective Peters, you were referencing you said you searched several dumpsters, correct?
That's correct.
And the one you were referencing was the one located on Hackle Drive, correct?
That's correct.
And that fire, according to your report, was reported on May the 22nd. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
But you didn't search that dumpster until 2 days later.
That's correct. We weren't looking for, I believe it was 2 days later when we actually found the vehicle that was missing the back seat. And at that point, that's when we tried to make efforts into locating it.
One of your colleagues testified that they had taken a picture of the Mazda as found, and the picture did not have the windows rolled down. And your testimony here today was that the 2 back windows were rolled down?
I believe so.
Did you take that picture?
I don't recall I don't believe I took that picture. And I don't recall who took the photo. Again, I do recall when we approached the vehicle, it had a strong odor of bleach emanating from the car.
And back to the scene at Hackle Drive of the suspected dumpster fire. You arrived on the scene, you said, before the crime scene unit did.
That's correct.
And so those pictures that you were showing the jury were taken after you had arrived on the scene.
Referring to the dumpster? Or
Yes, the
correct?
pictures
Yes.
that were shown to the jury today.
I believe so, yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Redirect.
Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted.
Judge, can we approach?
Sure.
Okay, since we're a little bit behind, we can just fast forward now. Thank you for joining me. Oh, let's watch. He still has his Band-Aid on his head. I wonder if he's got that another smart pocket square or not. God, he's creepy. Gives me the heebs, bigly.
Do you recognize those photographs?
I have seen them before, yes.
And are those a fair and accurate representation of how the Mazda looked on May 22nd?
It is, yes.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth is to introduce these two photos and published to the jury. They will be exhibits.
150 and 151.
Admitted subject to prior conversation. You all want to approach? It's like you look like you're questioning, and I don't want to, if
Yes,
you want
let's
to
do.
put something on the record, let's do it. Yeah, no problem.
Another approach. I want to show you. Here's my Crime Spies. Road to 500 subscribers. Now I've just put myself in the car. I wish I was better at graphic design. That was in August when I was tan and my hair was lighter. Okay, let's get back to this. Okay, so if it's not too insensitive, I mean, that's the only problem. Like, I use humor to mask my pain, and every time they keep saying dumpster fire, it reminds me of that Steven Crowder bitch commercial.
Are you the one?
I feel bad now, kind of.
That's correct, yes.
And did anybody enter the Mazda and roll windows up or down?
I don't recall, no.
Is that something the police department would ever do?
No, typically, again, you want to obviously contain any evidence as we locate it, and we don't want to obviously tamper with it anyway. Obviously, the most minimal contamination as possible.
And once you all located the Mazda, was it secured?
It would have been yes.
So no civilians could have come and gone from the Mazda?
No, absolutely not.
So. All right, and what are we looking at here?
Okay, this vehicle here is going to be the light blue Mazda. It may look a little silver in this picture, but it's like a light blue.
Is this where you all located?
I believe so, yes.
Do you recall it was parked in a normal parking spot?
That is correct.
And from this distance, would you have smelled bleach?
Yes.
And does the window appear to be up or down?
The back window appears to be up. Front driver window appears to be down.
And what are we looking at?
This is going to be a photo, I guess, on the driver's side door into the vehicle. Again, the window appears to be down.
And at this point, was the back seat?
It was, yes.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Any requests?
Detective Peters, just to clarify, you did tell the jury that the two back windows were down.
I said I believed the back windows had been down, yes.
All right, you may step down. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving right along.
And come up with your next witness, please.
Yes.
We are a little behind in fast forwarding. Or did they take a break? Play. That's the only problem with using two different monitors. Oh, look at Mr. Piece of Shit. Wonder what he's got in his mouth. Hopefully it's something disgusting. Hopefully it's laced with something like fentanyl. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You know, in most cases, I'm pretty reasonable, you know, with reserving my judgment until later. But it's kind of hard for me to do that with this guy here. Actually, it's really hard. It's okay. I'm not gonna lie. It's impossible. I mean, he just looks like he's some kind of drug lord. Actually, this morning when I was looking for, you know, just things to add to the summary I was beginning, and I was on YouTube looking for, you know, like what kind of clips were people. I was just looking to see like what clips were people actually looking at. You know, because I don't want to do like little shorts. Oh my God. So my kids are I have triplets, 17-year-old girls. And then my son is 20, almost 21. And when we went to Thanksgiving, my one daughter, one of the triplets, you know, just bought a car. So she's like, Mom, I'll drive. I'm like, oh my God, it's been like 2 decades since I was able to, you know, ride as a passenger to a holiday. So anyway, my son and I was trying to see if he could help me with like those swoop transitions because my Screaming Goat has like black on the side. Anyway, I'm just filling in time here looking at this guy. Maybe we could fast forward. See, look what he does with this. What is this? Some kind of freaking symbol? Is he fluffing? Okay, I know fluffer has like a couple different meanings. Anywho's but my kids were saying, Mom, your videos are too long. I'm like, but you don't understand. Like, these trials are like super long. But anyway, so I'm just trying to fine tune, you know, to appease the true crime crowd, the trial watching true crime crowd on my road to 500. And also, you know, see if I can attract the younger crowd. Originally, when I started this, my one triplet, Lily, it was going to be her and I together doing this because all her friends are true crime junkies. As a matter of fact, I kind of rely on her for like trending new true crime stuff. They must have taken a short little break. We are a little behind. Okay, here comes the witness. Oh, so anyway, so what I was, you know, I'm just trying to figure out like what's the best way to like gather what people are watching versus wasting time on stuff nobody's going to watch. And I did see where it said Brice Rhodes Rambo rapper, a rap video. I haven't had a chance to look for those. I'm sure they're horrible. Look at him. Look at him. He's just like they should put some kind of like sunglasses on him, like Ray Orbison.
All 15 jurors are present, Your Honor.
In my opinion, he's trying to intimidate them.
Need to report anything?
Wonder how many times he was dropped on his head.
All right, who's the Commonwealth's next witness?
The Commonwealth's going to call Dr. Lippincott.
Doctor.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Dr. Lippincott.
Lippincott?
Lippincott.
Lippencock. Dr. Lippencock, is that what they said?
Good morning, doctor.
Okay, so we've heard from a whole lot of law enforcement, but
I do. Thank you. You may have a seat.
I wonder if she's a medical examiner. Wonder if we're getting into autopsies today. Do I need to put up a trigger warning? I think I'm half dead inside because this stuff doesn't bother
How are
me.
you?
Good morning.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury?
I am Dr. Lauren Lippincott.
Oh,
And can you tell
Lippincott,
us
not Lippencock.
what sort of medicine do you practice?
My apologies.
I am a forensic pathologist.
And so what is a forensic pathologist do?
Forensic pathology is the field of medicine that examines unexpected, unexplained, and unnatural death.
And is there some training that goes along with becoming a doctor there?
Yes,
Can you tell us what's your education background?
sure. I have a bachelor's of science degree in forensic biology and health sciences from Guilford College. I received my medical degree at Nova Southeastern University. I then did a internship year at St. Petersburg General Hospital in Florida. I then did my residency in anatomic and clinical pathology at Danbury Hospital in Connecticut. And then I did my forensic pathology fellowship at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner here in Louisville.
So how many years of education was that if you had them all up?
Sorry, let me do
That's-
the math. Approximately 15.
And how many autopsies have you performed at this point?
I have performed over 1,800 autopsies.
Ooh, yikes.
And what is the standard procedure for performing an autopsy? Do you pick who comes to you? How do they get there?
Do you pick who comes to you?
The autopsies that we performed are on decedents that are sent to us by the county coroner.
Oh,
And this is the job that you were performing back in 2016.
Yes,
And this is, you had I was going to say opportunity, that's not quite the right word. You conducted the examination for a case number ME 160633.
yes.
And who was that individual?
oh,
That
okay.
individual was
Thank you.
identified as Christopher Jones.
And when you performed the autopsy, at that time, where does the autopsy occur?
The autopsy is performed at the medical examiner's office.
And who else are there other people in the room, just you?
There's technicians, there may be other doctors in the office, law enforcement.
Do you follow the same set of procedures for everybody that you receive, or do you tailor it based on what your initial observations are?
We have our general protocol, but some items are tailored for the nature of the case.
May I approach, Your Honor?
No.
Showing the witness, Commonwealth's 152 through 150. Those pictures fairly and accurately represent Mr. Jones as you observed him to be at that time.
Yes.
Move to admit and publish, Your Honor.
No objection.
You may publish.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? You may. Control of the clicker on the corner there. Can you, I guess, first of all, I'll just kind of jump to your final conclusion to orient the jury. what did you find the cause of death in this instance to
The
be?
cause of death in this instance was a gunshot wound.
And can you point out where the gunshot wound is on the victim?
In this individual, the gunshot wound initially went through his arm and then entered into his torso.
And how did death result from that?
There was injury to the liver that resulted in bleeding.
How long would you expect somebody to survive with that sort of injury?
It's hard to say.
And so, obviously, the liver is an important organ. What happens when a liver gets punctured?
When there is injury to the liver, bleeding will occur into the abdomen.
And so you would expect most of that bleeding to be internal or external?
Depending on the nature of the wound.
Okay. Is there anything else significant about this particular photo?
In this photo, you do see a lot of evidence of the medical intervention that was performed prior.
And if you want to just go through the next photo.
Okay.
What is most significant about this photo here?
In this photo, the significant item is right here. That was after we had made an incision under this contusion or bruise on his torso, and that is actually a projectile.
Now, are we looking at a bullet that almost exited, or
No.
are we looking at an entrance?
That bullet was underneath the skin. We cut into the skin for visualization and retrieval.
Okay. And there was only one bullet wound?
There was one projectile recovered.
Yes. All right. And we can go on to the next one. And what is this shot here?
This looks like it's the other side of his torso, so the lateral side where the projectile entered into the body.
And how can you tell? Can you tell from just looking at the wound whether it's an entrance or an exit?
This one is a little irregular.
And irregular would mean what? I'm sorry.
Because this is a re-entry wound because the bullet already had gone through a different area.
So I guess let's talk a little bit more about the processing also. I kind of jumped into things. There's a sticker there. Why is that sticker on it?
That sticker right here, it has our case number. Every individual that we examine in our facility is given their own case number. That number follows all of their case and anything involved with it. And then also on this, we also have measurements in inches and metric, so that also gives us a sense of scale.
Speak.
Thank you. Go on to the next one. And there's, can you talk about his hands?
You'll see that the hands were received at our office, covered in a paper bag.
And why is it like that?
That can be done to preserve any possible trace evidence.
When you say trace evidence, can you give some examples of what you sometimes find on people's hands?
I mean, sometimes it's also, we might clip fingernail clippings if requested for collection, and it may see if there's anything that could be important to law enforcement.
When you were processing Mr. Jones, Did you encounter any injuries that would have been consistent with him having been run over by a vehicle?
I did not see any specific.
And there appears to be some darkness up on his head over his eye there. Did you observe that during your inspection?
Yes.
And do you know what the cause of that is?
No.
Is there any part of the infusion or treatment process that could cause results like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know do you know when that bruising would have occurred?
I'm not sure.
Can people bruise post-mortem?
No.
So do you keep careful records of your examination?
Yes,
And do you file a report?
we do.
And what's the rest of the procedure that you follow with an autopsy?
During the autopsy, say we examine the external surface of the individual. We look for injuries, natural disease. We will then generally also perform similar inspections inside the decedent's body. We will make incisions and look at the organs as they are in the body, and we will also remove them to look at them individually.
So why do you take, in a case like this where you can see a gunshot wound, why would you take out organs and weigh them still?
Just for documentation, to also see if there's other injuries, other natural disease.
Because you only get one shot at this and you don't know what might be relevant later.
Correct.
All right. Did you do anything else with respect to
Blood samples testing.
and what would that test for?
It generally tests for a panel that includes common drugs of abuse and alcohols.
Okay. And when did you perform the examination of Mr. Jones?
This exam was performed on May 4th, 2016.
And did you also happen to perform an examination in case ME 160724?
Yes.
And who was the individual involved in that examination?
That individual was identified as Larry Ordway.
At the time that you did your examination, did you have any knowledge that these two individuals were in any way connected?
No.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing the witness Commonwealth's Exhibit 160 through 176.
Oh, the keyboard warrior is back.
Do those pictures fairly and accurately represent Mr. Ordway as you observed him at the time?
Generally, yes.
Move to admit and publish to the jury, Your Honor.
No objection. Submitted, you may.
We'll go through the pictures one by one, but first, again,
Yeah, where did my yarn go?
I'll jump to what was your final conclusion as to the cause of death of Mr. Ordway?
The cause of death were due to multiple stab wounds of the torso.
Why would you take a picture? What's the significance of taking pictures of someone's hands? What's significant about that?
Defense wounds.
We take pictures of the hands to document any injuries or any other findings as they're received.
Did you see any wounds on his hands?
No.
Oh, remember his hands were behind his back.
Sorry, I clicker.
Oh, yeah, sure. And that's his other hand?
Yeah, or another aspect.
One of the
And
brothers, his hands was behind his
still no
back with a
wounds?
belt.
No,
No
I gotta look and see
defensive
now.
wounds?
no.
You can keep going. Did you observe burning on the body?
Yes.
And were you able to tell, was he deceased when the fire occurred? Is there any way for you to know that just from looking at him?
It's hard to tell with burning, but we did perform a carboxyhemoglobin testing for carbon monoxide, and that was negative.
Which would imply what generally?
Often if someone is, for the most part, deceased at the time of a fire, they will not be taking breaths to inhale it in.
And what are we looking at here?
We are looking at a stab wound.
Is there any way for you to tell what sort of instrument caused the wound?
No.
Would you be able to tell if the instrument was serrated or smooth?
We do document whether the wound edge is smooth or if we see evidence of serration.
And what was your conclusion on this one?
This was a smooth.
Oh my God.
Excellent.
Yeah. Can you orient us as to what we're looking at here?
So I believe we're looking at, on the torso, there is an injury here, and then you can see some of this darkening and discoloration is fire injury.
Same.
Same.
Plus, there's also, is that additional wounds in the
Yeah,
photo?
there's multiple wounds in this photo.
Overall, do you count the number of wounds?
Yes.
How many wounds were there?
Overall, we documented 21 sharp force wounds.
And did all of the wounds hemorrhage?
Yes.
And what is that? What can you deduce from that knowledge?
When there is bleeding around from the wounds, it means that the heart was beating, person was alive.
So he would have felt all of these wounds. He would have been alive for all of these wounds.
Would have been, presumably, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm alive or able to feel? Which one? So that was kind of put together.
It's if someone's alive.
Okay, but you would not or would know whether they were able to feel it?
It would depend on the level of consciousness in an individual.
So in this case, do you know?
I can't say.
Okay.
Oops.
Thank you.
You can go on to the next one. Anything significant?
No,
on the
you could
lower
still some
extremities?
of the other fire burn injuries.
You can go on to the next one. What do you observe here?
Here is the side of his head. There's some burnt clothing and burnt skin underneath. Looks like some singeing of the hair, and there was a contusion on the ear.
And what would people on the street call a contusion?
A contusion is a bruise.
And so, do you have any way of knowing how long do bruises last?
They can last for, it depends, period of time.
Do you have any way of knowing how long that bruise existed?
No.
You can go on to the next one. And this is another shot of the bruising.
Yes.
You can. What are we looking at here? Can you
So here,
orient us?
yes, we're looking on the torso. There were some injuries here, and this is intestine protruding through the wound.
And if there's a incision to the midsection, is that something that naturally happens, or?
Yes, it can.
All right. What is significant in this photo?
And here there is some bruising on the forehead.
And this photo here?
And then here is, we're looking at his body from the top down. Head is here, going to the chest and abdomen. And here we can see multiple stab wounds.
Are all of the stab wounds on the front of the body?
The vast majority are.
You can go on to the next one. Can you tell anything about the depth of these wounds from looking at them during your examination?
On the external exam, we can give approximations of wound depth on internal exam.
And were these of consistent depth with each other?
They varied.
And do you know what the range was?
The depths of the wounds ranged from a 1/4 inch deep to 6 inches deep.
Go on to the next one. Do you know which body was the one that you would have examined in this photo?
I believe it is the one on the right because of the clothing.
And I don't know if there's another photo after this.
Yes.
Would a blade like this be consistent with the wounds that you saw?
I can't say.
Some knives you could rule out by looking at them. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And is this one that you could rule out by looking at it?
I don't think it can be ruled out.
And if there's another one?
I think that's it.
That's it. And then you followed the same, after you did the documentation, you followed the same process as you laid out for Mr. Jones and documented your reports.
Yes.
I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
For the defense?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to walk back through all the things you just testified about. I'm going to pick and choose a little bit.
Okay.
And if any of my questions are confusing, just tell me.
Okay.
I think it's probably clear, but I wanted to ask just a couple things about your office. Your office is it's not just you, right? It's a bigger office.
Yes.
How many medical examiners are there?
I believe at the current moment in time, we have 8
Okay.
in our office.
And in any particular autopsy, do you only have one, or do you guys work in pairs? Or
We may have work in pairs if there's a fellow who's the doctor in training.
okay. Do you recall on these two if you were by yourself or if there was someone else assisting you?
I had someone else assisting and supervising.
Someone was assisting you, you were supervising? Or
No.
did I get that back?
No, I was the one being supervised
Okay.
by another doctor.
Can you tell us the name of the other doctor?
Yes, for which case?
It's a totally good point. Why don't we start with Mr. Jones?
For Mr. Jones, it is Dr. Springer.
Okay. And then with the second.
And then for Larry Ordway, Dr. Falls.
Thank you. Also regarding your office, you said you've done 1,800 ballpark
Yes.
autopsies. Your office does cases from other counties too, right? You're from all over the state?
A segment of the state.
Okay.
Yes.
Do all cases that need an autopsy from Jefferson County, did they all go to your office though?
Yes.
I want to turn now specifically to Mr. Jones.
Okay.
You had indicated, you testified about this a little bit. I want to turn back to it, specifically on page 5 of your report. You have your report, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have a spare copy.
No,
You testified a little bit about this before, about the injuries to the head. You see the spot, it's number 2 there on the report?
Yes.
Okay. You indicate on your report, let me take a step back. I think you told the prosecution that you couldn't determine the exact cause.
yes.
Right.
Correct.
You use the term, which is a medical term of art, though it's one that I've heard out in the world, blunt force injuries,
Yes.
right? Okay. Tell the jury what does that term mean, a blunt force injury?
A blunt force injury is an injury to the skin or body as a result of an impact.
And when you say an impact, what makes that distinct from a different type of injury?
It can differ from, say, a sharp force wound, which is due to a cutting of the skin.
So in this case, something struck the head, or the head struck something?
Yes.
All right. And when we're talking about it, it would have been fairly recent, right? Bruising doesn't last for years and years.
Yes, correct.
And you specifically observed bruising in this case.
Yes.
In fact, we saw bruising, and you commented on it in your testimony earlier. Exact amount of time from a bruise, right? There isn't a magical timestamp on a bruise.
No.
But you can make some conclusions, draw some conclusions, right, based on the coloration and things like that.
In some generalities.
Okay. For example, you told us that this would not have been after death or post-mortem.
Correct.
All right. So are you able to say to the jury exactly when that bruising or when that blunt force impact would have occurred?
No, I can't say exactly.
But based on what based on your examination, doctor, you are able to tell that it was fairly recent.
Yes.
Okay. in addition to the bruising, you used the word, I think we already talked about contusion, right? You say it's over the left orbit.
Yes.
Can you tell us just which part of the head or face we're talking about?
Yeah, the orbit is just generally the area around the left eye.
So when you're saying over the left orbit, I'm using myself, not you.
Okay.
Is that fair? I'm not. Tell me if I'm wrong.
That's a
Am I wrong?
little more up than orbit.
Okay.
Orbit's more
So closer here.
a little further down.
Okay. You also observed an abrasion is that like a scrape?
Yes.
Okay. And then I don't know this word bilateral, over the bilateral forehead. I don't know what that means.
Both sides of the
Okay.
forehead.
Okay. And also you said on the nose and the left cheek.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. There's another one that I don't actually know, so you can help me out. A cortical contusion?
That's a bruising on the brain.
Okay. How are you able to determine that had occurred?
We could see it on examination of the brain.
Okay. When we say a cortical contusion on the brain, can you explain that in normal words?
We see areas of hemorrhage or bruising, focal hemorrhage or bruising on the brain surface.
So we're talking about the actual surface of the brain itself.
On the brain itself.
Okay. And that takes a certain amount of force, right?
I believe so. But I can't say specifically how much.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But that coincided with what you observed with exterior damage to the head as well.
Yes.
It's fair to say it's likely that whatever caused the exterior probably caused the interior damage as well.
Yes. It's likely they're connected.
Okay. Here today, you're not able to tell the jury exactly what caused that injury to the head.
Correct.
But you do know, and you've testified about, the fact that there was a blunt force trauma to Mr. Jones's head.
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
With respect to Mr. Jones, observing the blunt force trauma, is there any question in your mind as to what the cause of death was?
No.
And what was the cause of death?
The cause of death was due to the gunshot wound.
And would the trauma to the head be consistent with an unprotected fall on pavement?
It can't be excluded.
With respect to Mr. Ordway, we went through some photographs with the jury, but we didn't show all the wounds. Can you just refer to your report and explain where you observed each one of the wounds?
Wounds were seen over the chest, the abdomen, the pelvis, the inguinal region, the back, the left inguinal region as well, the genitalia, and the right leg.
And what is the inguinal region?
The inguinal region, I guess in lay terms, is the groin.
Hi, Bella.
And so he
How's
was stabbed in
Sophia?
the groin?
Yes.
How many times?
There was
Oh, you're
one
wrapping
stab
presents.
wound to the right groin and one to the left.
And when you say stab wounds to the external genitalia, what does that mean?
That is generally, in this case, talking about the penis and scrotum region.
And when you add all those stabbings up, what number did you come to?
For total in his
Yes.
body, there were 21 stab wounds total.
And were you able to determine the decedent's age at this time?
Not at the time of autopsy.
Do you know necessarily who you're working on at the time of autopsy?
He was unidentified at the time of autopsy,
And subsequently,
and then subsequently identified by the coroner's office.
Oops.
thank you.
Sorry, I'm working on a Christmas Crime Spies thing.
I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you for being here. You're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome,
Just
Bella.
for a moment.
You're wrapping Christmas presents for baby Sophia's first Christmas, I bet. This trial, I'm hooked on it now. Like a junkie, I needed my fix this morning. Absolutely
We're gonna go ahead and
horrifying.
break for lunch before calling any
Oh,
more
and now they're going to break
witnesses.
for
I'm just gonna
lunch.
ask you to be back in front of the courtroom
Well, this
doors
is a
no later
way
than
shorter
1
day than it
o'clock
was
p.m.
yesterday.
In the meantime, please recall my earlier.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching on actually both Rumble and YouTube, I now have the what am I trying to say here? I have the live stream links for the afternoon session separately, only because yesterday it was such a long day and my internet here sometimes decides to throw a fit. So in order to not interrupt our continuing coverage of this trial, I thought maybe it would be in my best interest to just do them two separate trials. And actually that'll give me a chance to work on that document I was showing you, that PDF document. So make sure that you are following me on X, because I haven't covered very many trials. The last one I covered was Gareth Purcell's trial for the horrifying death of Dr. Amy Harwick, Drew Carey's former fiance. That was awful. But then I watched the Charlie Adelson trial, and it's winter time here in Minnesota. Actually, it's pretty warm. It's 41 degrees and sunny. Normally it's way colder than that. This is like almost shorts weather. So anyway, I have a document I'm working on. Normally when I do trials, I'll do like a summary at the end of the day, and then I'll post it on my X account, because that's where most of the true crime people follow. If I'm doing something relating to politics, then I post it on like Truth Social and Gab. But because this is a trial, I don't really have a whole. Well, I guess there are some people on Truth Social that do follow the true crime stuff. So, but I'll pin it to my profile, and then it's in PDF form, so you're able to, use it if you just want to peruse through it, or if you're like, for example, I know Mo in the Deep End, she does like Newsy News at night. So, that way you don't have to do your own research. You can just like grab it off of my Twitter account and read through it. So, anyway. Just wanted to read. I have like 2 monitors, and because I use OBS and I'm still not super familiar with it, I started to panic. Put a bow on mine, Bella. This way up. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in to this morning's coverage. I do not know how to do our redirect link. when I try to do the end screen in YouTube, it tells me I cannot do that because it's still processing the video. But if you follow the channel, it will start. God, they took lunch break early because it's only 11 o'clock here. So I'm going to change the time because I had it starting at 2. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. And I'm going to work on my document. And for day 3 now, we had just a few witnesses. We had Brian. Oh, do I dare do the Steven Crowder dumpster fire? I'm gonna. Hopefully we're not going to get in trouble. So far there was two witnesses, Brian Royce and Brian Peters. And then right now is the forensic pathologist, Dr. Lippincott. Not Lippencock, like I thought. What? Okay, so couple other non-crime related things. Crime Spies is on the road to 500 subscribers. I think today is day 4. I'm just going to keep pestering you with live streams until I get there. So just tell your friends so the punishment for you will be over very soon. I'm picking up a couple over on Rumble. Thank you so much to, I mentioned you earlier. One was earlier today and one was yesterday. So thank you so much. Kick, I think I picked up 1. Oh, Gypsy Rose. Do you remember that gal, Gypsy Rose Blanchard? There was a documentary series. It dawned on me. See Rose Blanchard. She's being paroled. I want to say a couple days after Christmas. See, I get the spins. It happens so randomly. Can't reach that page. Great. But Gypsy Rose Blanchard is being... Maybe I got cut off. Did I get cut off? Well, I'll just end it. I'll bring it up at the beginning. But Gypsy Rose Blanchard is being paroled at, I think it's a couple days after Christmas, the 28th. She was the one that her and her boyfriend murdered her mother. And her mother used her mother had Munchausen by proxy and used her, to get like free houses, etc. So it looks like I'm having some internet problems, but I'll change the time on that, the afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Actually, my Christmas video going out, I forgot to add the music, so it's just visual. See you soon.